Kitty.
And I'm Jennifer.
And we're the O'Neill sisters, and we've got a pretty set of bracelets to show you. Rainbow Ribbon Wrap Bracelets.
These bracelets are super easy to make. You just wrap each bangle with some ribbon and then create a really pretty design on top with gold wire. And if you love this project, we have kits available on our blog, runningwithsisters.com.
Let's get started. To make each bracelet, you'll want to start with the metal bangle. You'll have ribbon that you're going to wrap it with. This is 30 inches of blue satin ribbon. We've got our wire, 26 gauge wire. This is a 24-inch length. And then for tools, we have scissors and we have wire cutters. The first thing we want to do is wrap the metal bangle with the ribbon. And to do that, I'm just going to unfurl my ribbon, and I'm going to take a tail about 1.5 inches long here, and I'm going to use it just to tie a knot onto the bangle. And I can see that this is the shiny side and this side's not as shiny. I'm going to put the not as shiny side towards the bangle. And I'm just going to tie a little temporary knot. This is not going to be our permanent knot, but it's just going to hold it while we get started wrapping. So to wrap the bracelet, I'm going to hold this in place, and I'm just going to wrap the ribbon around the bangle. When I come around for my second wrap, I'm going to overlap that first one by about half the width of the ribbon. So I'm coming around and I'm going about halfway across the previous wrap. I'm pulling it pretty tight, and then I'm kind of holding it in place with my other hand as I go. And I'm just going to wrap. And as you're wrapping, there'll be a little lumps of ribbon might show up. Like here's a little extra piece of ribbon. Because it's flat ribbon on a rounded surface, it'll get a little bit of lumps like this. They don't even show. It just gets mashed down by the next wrap of the ribbon. Each time I'm just going over halfway across the ribbon that I had before. See, there's one of those little lumps. It won't even show when we're done. And just keep wrapping. And these metal bangles that we're wrapping, these are those classic bangles that you might have worn when you did a costume when you were a kid. Maybe stack up a bunch of those, and they were so fun and jangly, and we just think they're really nice weight and width for this project. So even though they have their own texture on them, we're just going to cover that right up with the ribbon. And every time I go around, I grab that ribbon, I pull it all the way through and out so I don't get tangled. And I'm pulling it pretty tight. I'm holding it as I'm going. I'm pulling it pretty tight, and that way it's not unwrapping. If I let go right now, these would unwrap. So I'm holding it pretty tight as I make the next wraps. And I'm almost halfway around now. And if you wrap it overlapping too much, that is, instead of overlapping half the width, if you overlap more like 3/4 of the width, you might run out of ribbon before you get to the end. If that happens, no worries, just undo it and wrap it again. It's no big deal. And if you wrap it not quite a half, but less, you might wind up with a little piece of the metal showing. If that happens, just undo that section and wrap it again, and wrap over the ribbon a little bit more. Really about half the width of the ribbon. I just keep on wrapping, and I'm going to wrap all the way up to the beginning where I started. And I'm just going to untie the first knot while I'm holding the wrap in place so it doesn't come loose. So I'm just going to pull that temporary knot loose. And then what I want to do is tie these two ends together. I want to make sure I don't have any metal showing there, so I'm going to do one more wrap to cover that little piece of metal. Now it's all covered, and I'm going to tie this in a knot. So I just do one over the other and pull it. And I'm going to do a double knot here, like that. And then I can go back now and look at the bracelet, and if I have any metal showing, like a little bit there, I can just push that ribbon over a little bit. So that looks nice the way it is. but we're going to do a little extra touch on it, and we're going to wrap it with wire. To finish off the wrap bracelet, we're going to wrap it with wire, and this is just going to give it a little extra decorative touch. So to do that, I'm going to take the wire, I'm going to come down about an inch on the wire, leaving that as a tail, and I'm going to set that next to the knot, like that. Let me move this wire out of the way so you can see. I've got a tail of wire there. I'm just going to hold that with one hand, and I'm going to start wrapping with the wire. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to take the whole chunk of wire, and I'm going to go around the bracelet one time, whoop, and then tuck it through the bracelet. There's one wrap. I'm going to do that again. I'm going to go around the bracelet. I'm just going over a tiny bit. I'm going to feed all that wire back through the bracelet, the bangle, and pull that tight. And then after I have these two wraps side by side, I'm going to go over a little bit. I'm just going to go over diagonally, and then I'm going to make another two wraps. So there's one wrap and another, kind of pretty close to it. After I have two wraps together like that, then I'm going to go diagonally over. So each time you do the wrap, you'll have a diagonal and then two straight and then a diagonal. So we just did our diagonal. Here's a straight and a straight next to it. And now I'll do a diagonal. There's the diagonal one. I'm just pulling the wire all the way through. And now I'm going to do two straights. There's a straight. Just going straight around the side. Another one straight around. And now I'm going to do another diagonal. And at this point, I can actually let go of this tail because this is pretty secure on there now. And I can start rotating around the bracelet. So I'm in the middle of a diagonal here, coming across diagonally. And then I'm going to make two straights. A straight, going straight around and straight around. So the pattern you can see is this diagonal and two straights, diagonal, two straights. It's just as simple as that. And this wire got a little kink in it, doesn't matter. I just lay it down on the bracelet and you can't even see it. I just pull that tight and then I make two straights here, straight and a straight. And it gets a little easier as your tail gets shorter. You have less wire to bring all the way through that bangle. Go diagonally over, and then from here I'm going to make two that are straights. We just thought this was a pretty little pattern on top of the ribbon. It gives it a little extra detail, and it helps secure that ribbon on there. So now the ribbon is going to be held down onto the bangle by this wire. If you wanted to experiment with making up your own wire pattern here, you just want to make sure that you have enough wire. If you put the wraps too close together, you might run out of wire early and you won't make it all the way around the bracelet. And now I'm going to meet up with my original wire here under the knot. So I'm doing my diagonal just like I would, but I'm going over to the other side of the knot where my first tail was. That's my first tail, and that's the second one we just finished. I'm going to go up over. This wire is going under and coming up the underside. This one was on top. So that's nice because now I can twist these wires together. I'm just going to twist them a couple of times to secure them next to the knot. And then what I like to do is tuck them into the knot. So to do that, I think it's nice to just tie the knot one more time over the wire. Just do one more knot here. Plus it makes the knot a little bit bigger, which is cute. And now we can trim the wire. And you want to trim it pretty close so that you don't have sticky outy parts that might hurt you. So just trim those off and make sure they're tucked. I like to push them down towards the bracelet with my fingers so that pokey end doesn't stick out and hurt anybody. So see that little end? I'm just poking it into the ribbon and into that knot. Now it's all hidden inside there. And then I can trim these tails. So I think it's fun to trim these tails diagonally and just leave about, I don't know, is that an inch? There's one diagonal cut and another one. And these little ends, after a while, these might get a little frayed, and if you don't like that, you could use a little fray check on here, or even a little bit of clear nail polish on the ends will keep those from fraying. So there's our blue wrapped bracelet, looking so cute, and you just do it the same to make all the other colors you want.